Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Paul K. Dunn, owner advisor at J & Sons Retirement Advisors, protecting the financial future of our community. Also proudly supporting Project 1000 mission, financially empowering 1000 family and friends in 2017. Just wanted to welcome you to day two, number two. If you failed to read the introduction or day one, which is procrastination, then please, I encourage you to start from the beginning and work your way forward. And you can find the recordings in order. So just stop the recording here. Go back to those and do your best to listen in order, because it will start to make sense over time. And we've put the puzzles in place in order to help empower the information so that you get it. Okay. So today, enemy of your money number two is bad spending habits. Okay. Bad spending habits is the overconsumption mindset. Whether something costs $2 or $2,000, it's all relative to the urges of consumption your brain gets when you think about shopping. The difference in price paid for something comes down to justification. Over the last 100 years of brainwashing tactics deployed by capitalists worldwide, we have developed a culture of spending. Capitalism, by definition, is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. There shows up that system word again. This word will always mean that we need to understand another set of rules and therefore play another game. So let's play the mind game called capitalism, shall we? The objective of capitalism is to create more profit from your consumers than the other capitalists in the game. A consumer, by definition, is a person who purchases goods and services for personal use. The more consumers created by the capitalists, the more profit they can realize. Another strategy is to influence consumers to pay far more for an item than it's really worth. This strategy will limit the amount of consumers it requires to make huge profits. And some examples of that is Ferrari, Lamborghini, luxury homes that may cost 30 to 40 million, penthouses, things of those nature are what we call overpriced items that allow you to feel a certain way in exchange for a larger amount of money. Understand? Okay. This strategy limits the amount of consumers it requires to make huge profits, because they're charging you so much in the beginning and so much for just one item that they could pay themselves for producing that item for the next 10 years with just one sale. Okay. And with each passing month, a profit and loss statement is produced showing how profit was made and how much was spent to make it. As you can imagine, different tools are used to create influence to consume. Okay, so in our mind game called capitalism, marketing messages that aim to connect with consumer emotion, branding gimmicks that make the consumer overvalue a product, addictive behaviors researched to create brain stimulation chemicals for the food, which connects consumer desire to their brand, and on and on and on. These are all tactics that are used to get the consumer to choose the capitalist. Okay? Does any of this sound familiar? Okay. This mind game is called capitalism, and it's real life. The best saying I could think of to sum up this moment is: the only way to win a game is to realize that you are in one. Capitalism causes overconsumption. Overconsumption is the foundation of bad spending habits. The only reason they are considered bad spending habits is because the consumption is pointless. Most of what we know about America is an illusion. In the financial world, this is the ultimate truth. Debt is not real. By definition, debt is the state of owing money. It's a mind state. It's not real. Key word to look at is state. The state of owing simply means the particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. And that condition at any time can change. Okay? If you are in debt, you are in a state of owing. You don't actually owe. And it's only after you have to go through some hard experiences with, the law and courts and people trying to sue you and foreclose and take property and things like that. It's only at that point which they drive you to pay the money. But the reality is, when you look at the definition, that debt is only a state of owing that you are being put into so that you're okay with it. Okay? It's a state that's controlled. And America is in the biggest state of owing by leading by example so that you believe that it's okay to do the same thing. Okay? A debt is a promise to pay later. A debt can be waived by the other party if they no longer desire the financial gain of that particular agreement, which means there are no tangible components here. Unless the debt is paid, no money is created, just the promise of money. If the debt is waived, there is still no actual money transfer. This is utter confusion. This would mean America's debt is not real until it is paid. If all countries bring their debt due today, America would owe more than they can ever repay in years to come. Do you really think that the outstanding debt is meant to ever be paid off? Or is this just a currency creation game that America is playing to teach its country to consume? Leading by example and painting a picture of doom and gloom only scares consumers into never letting the system die. The true realization has to be made that credit, debt, capitalism, and the American dream are all illusions that assist in the transfer of wealth from the consumer, you, to the capitalists, the business industry. In order to kill bad spending habits, you must change where your bad spending habits send your money. Instead of consuming pointless junk, you must consume cash flow assets that make you more money. The same way the capitalists do in their everyday lives. Okay? All they're doing is producing things for you to consume, which makes them more and more money, which to them, it's considered a cash flow asset. Why? Because they're receiving cash flow every day from pointless junk that consumers overconsume. Make sense? Awesome. A cash flow asset, by definition, is anything that puts money in your pocket. Let's be clear. Let's say that again. Let's read it really slowly. A cash flow asset, by definition, is anything that puts money in your pocket on a regular basis. Okay? So let's clear this up. Your job is not a cash flow asset. The reason being is because if you stop working, it no longer puts money in your pocket. So the difference between a cash flow asset and your ordinary income is that with the cash flow asset, when you stop working, For example, you bought 3 pieces of real estate. Every month, as long as there is a tenant inside, you receive rent. Every month, whether you get out of bed, whether you go to the store for 8 hours and shop, whether you stay on your computer for 10 hours a day, nothing stops that money coming in except not following the rules. And in this case, with the rental, having a tenant in place means you have cash flow assets. Ordinary income is you trading your time for money. And the moment you stop trading time for money, you no longer get paid. So if you choose to spend 8 hours shopping, if you choose to spend 10 hours on your computer, if you choose to watch movies, if you choose to stay in or go do things with your family, all of those things will be cut short by the need to trade your time for the money. Make sense? That is the biggest difference with a cash flow asset versus an ordinary income. So another couple of good ones. Real estate is the most common, okay, and cash value life insurance is the least common, but they both qualify as cash flow assets. Now, with cash value life insurance, it needs to be structured properly, and then it can be one of the best cash flow asset vehicles you will ever find in your lifetime. Okay, real estate is just the most common, so you know how that works, and you know that it comes with a learning curve. So you do have to know how to purchase the right property in the beginning, because that's where you will make all your money. But those are just two examples of passive income. Now, also a passive income business is designed to bring in money with minimum or one-time efforts. It's more of a knowledge thing. Okay, each month a passive income business will give you a result. The most famous model of this concept is McDonald's, a franchise business that brought Ray Kroc money day in and day out. After he sold a new location, the franchise owner became the manager that ran it according to Ray's rules of operation. Over time, this franchising idea became popular and it doesn't produce as much cash flow as it did before, but it's still viable in most cases. Okay. A smaller, more manageable idea is a video rental kiosk, which can loan movies from a vending machine for a fee. The owner literally sets it and forgets it. Malfunction and the occasional non-return will be more or less the main issues causing real-time work for the owner. These are just a couple of examples, but there are thousands of opportunities floating around out there, and thousands more to be created from scratch in the near future. You just have to be mindful enough, financially intelligent enough to be taught how to look for them, find them, and acquire them for yourself. Okay? Now, if your bad spending habits are aimed at consuming cash flow assets that produce passive income, you will have more money than you can ever spend. Warren Buffett learned this principle from a young age, and he taught me this. And I've read several of his books. There's a book out there called Snowball, which will walk you through his entire life. I have it in audio form, which makes it easier for me to read. But that's a really good read, and it will give you an idea of what I started to see. Okay, but Buffett learned this from a young age. He had multiple passive income businesses, sparked an interest in buying stock that paid dividends, which is also a cash flow asset or a type of cash flow asset, and stayed intensely focused in that area as a child. Today, he's the second richest man in the world with a net worth of over $74 billion. Okay? Now, he's committed to donating 99% of that to charity when he passes on. Charity is going to get 99% of his money because he believes that he earned it in a specific way, and to pass that on to someone, to a person, that much money would really be more harmful than helpful. Okay, so only 1% is probably going to be passed on as generational wealth for his family. And before we leave, we'll leave you with this: success leaves clues, And that's the wealthiest clue that I've found. Okay? It's from Warren Buffett. Okay? So without further ado, we're going to wrap this thing up. We're at 15 minutes now. So we're going to wrap this thing up. And with all that you do, we wish you abundance, prosperity, and success. We'll see you on the next day. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.